A recent event in Maryland brings this subject to mind, and I thought I would speak about it briefly. A man was outside in his neighborhood, apparently, and he saw some guys messing around trying to break into a vehicle, essentially. So he's unarmed. He goes and he confronts this one individual who's trying to break into the vehicle. That individual produces a gun. They get in a struggle over with the gun. This Good Samaritan ends up getting himself shot. Another woman who comes out to intercede gets shot. And then other people in the neighborhood wrestle the gun away from the bad guy and shoot the bad guy with his own gun. Okay. So many times I have written about and talked about a simple principle. If you are an armed citizen, and in this case, he was an unarmed citizen, but whether you're armed or not, if it's not your monkeys, it's not your circus. This wasn't even his own vehicle. It was somebody else's vehicle. And even if it's your own vehicle, if there is nobody in the vehicle, that's what insurance is for. And I have been accused of, in fact, one of the best accusations was on the old USA Carry podcast. We were talking about this and encouraging people not to, try to stop carjackers if there's nobody in the vehicle. If there's somebody in the vehicle, that's totally different, right? But if the vehicle is empty, then it is just property, and you are wading into a situation that might cost your own life or require you to take somebody's life, okay, over property. And we highly suggest not doing that. And one of the comments to that particular USA Carry show was, what a bunch of communists encouraging people not to get involved. Hey, let me tell you something. If you want to intercede to protect other people's property or your own property, but just property in general, a world of hurt is coming to you. I'll give you a little hint. The places where things like car theft is rampant usually corresponds with places that are dominated by the side of the political aisle that is very hostile towards self-defense. They're the ones who empower criminals. Seems to me like that's a social suicide pact, but that is their stance. They empower criminals. They let repeat violent offenders right back out on the streets to keep doing these kind of crimes. Yet they will come down with the weight of the earth on you if you get into a conflict that ends up taking the life of one of their beloved criminals. And that's a fact. Okay? So your inclination to intercede should be greatly determined by the kind of people you live among. Quite frankly, very rural, red kind of communities, it's going to be very different than if you are in the typical suburban or urban blue area, okay? They do not like you protecting yourself. So why would you put yourself in a position where things are going to be questionable at best? If you confront somebody who is obviously a thug stealing a vehicle, it is most likely going to turn violent. And, no matter how good you are, it could just not be your day. Is it worth your life? And if you end up taking the life of that individual or hurting that individual, it's going to be massive repercussions in the court of law for that, right? Beyond that, just ethically, I understand that this criminal element is running rampant, totally out of control. And you know what? Maybe the guy who's breaking in to steal somebody's car deserves what he gets. But we're talking about human life, right? So you're putting yourself in a position where you might end up with a dead scumbag, but this is still a human being. Is it worth defending property to put yourself in a position where you end up taking the life of somebody, no matter how reprehensible that person may be? I would say absolutely not. Not only because of the legal consequences, but the moral consequences of that. So just something to be mindful of. Don't put yourself in the position of possibly taking life over property. And you know what? If you want to accuse me of being a wimp or being a commie or whatever, that's fine. But the repercussions of that are not worth it. If there are people in the vehicle, that is an entirely different thing. Your spouse or children in the vehicle, totally different. Because now you're not defending property, you are defending innocent human life. But when it comes to putting yourself in a position to have to use lethal force to defend property, I strongly, strongly urge you to reconsider.